And we're live.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Committee on Community Development, Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. Councilmember Golumback,
Here.
Councilmember Farrelletto,
Here.
Councilmember Rivera,
Present.
Councilmember Scanlon,
Present.
Councilmember Wyatt, Councilmember Bowman,
Present.
Councilmember Wingo,
Present.
Councilmember Nowakowski.
Present.
Quorum is present.
Okay, from the top, please.
Item number 1 concerns traffic at intersection of Genesee and Roslyn.
Motion to table.
Motion is to table, seconded by Councilmember Wyatt.
Item number 2, letter to the New York State Vaccine Equity Task Force.
Items open.
Okay, this item is open. We are going to table it. This was in regards to the 14207 zip code not being included in the first rollout. That zip code was number 3 and number 4 in percentage and total cases. I want to thank, it's also the district that I live in and represent. I want to thank Council President Pridgeon and members of the Racial Equity Task Force, because there is going to be a discussion today about opening up a possible pop-up site at the Northwest Buffalo Community Center at the neighborhood health center there for the community. I think it was forgotten that 14207 is a district where there are a lot of people that are new immigrants that don't necessarily get the information that many of us take for granted. Also, a large number, I think that I read that approximately 1/3 of the people that live in 14207 do not have transportation. There's also a large number of people that do not have access to computers and the internet. Once again, I think that that's something that we forget about quite often. We think that, because we are fortunate enough to have those things most likely in our houses or even on our cell phones, that everybody does. And I appreciate the council president going to bat for that zip code, and hopefully something positive will come out of that. So, and I want to thank my colleagues too. Mr. Rivera, you spoke out in support of me as well, and for all of the rest of you, this item can be tabled, and hopefully next week we'll find out that we were able to give shots to residents of 14207.
Motion to table.
Motion to table, seconded by Mr. Nowakowski.
Item 3, request to speak to council.
This item is open.
This item is open, and I think we have Jennifer Tuttle here to speak. Jennifer, are you here?
I am here.
Oh,
Hi,
okay.
everyone. I'm actually going to turn it over to two colleagues that I'm working with at Ease, which is a company technology platform that helps make sure that folks have safe legal access to cannabis. Just wanted to explain a little bit about how delivery platforms work and talk about Ease's commitment to social equity. But with that, we'll be here for questions after, but I'm going to turn it over to Sydney and Rashad.
Okay, I just please ask that you state your name for the record because it is being recorded, please. Thank you.
Will do. Hi, everyone. My name is Sydney Snow, and I am the Senior Manager of Government Affairs and Community Affairs at Ease. So I just want to start by thanking you all for having us and for the opportunity to really tell you all who we are and why we think access to cannabis via delivery is important. We also would love to answer any questions that you might have for us, at the end. So Ease is a cannabis marketplace and company that provides safe, legal access to cannabis products via delivery to adults in California. Ease is also the largest cannabis employer in the state of California of W-2 unionized employees. That means all of our employees are full-time employees with benefits and are part of the union. making sure our customers, drivers, and communities that we operate in are safe is very important to us. As a customer, when you log in, there are a bunch of safety mechanisms in place to ensure that we are only giving our products to people who are over the age of 21. When you log into ease.com, you have to actually submit a picture of your photo ID and a selfie. That picture is then uploaded to our system, and through a third-party software, we are able to determine if the picture in government issued ID is actually legitimate. So all of our drivers are also in unmarked vehicles. They don't wear any kind of paraphernalia, so you will never see an Ease car coming down the street. However, all of our drivers do wear a badge underneath their shirts with a license number, so that if they are ever stopped by law enforcement, they can prove the products are coming from a licensed shop. Cannabis products are also in a locked box that's been locked in the trunk of all of the cars. So customers can customers also get their products in a child resistant bag. And then in that child resistant bag, each product packaging is also child resistant. And when the drivers come to your door, they check your ID to make sure the person picking up the product is the same person who ordered it. So there's a 3-check system there. And unlike a Lyft or Uber, customers cannot track what streets drivers are traveling down, right? So, and that's for the driver safety. So, however, on the back end, our dispensaries are able to track exactly where the drivers are and follow them along their route to make sure that everything is okay. We strive really hard to reduce the amount of cash that's actually exchanged between customers and drivers. So most of our customers use their debit card or ACH transfer to purchase products. We actually have a 0.002% incident rate of theft. So cannabis is actually more safe than getting into a Lyft or an Uber. Another point I wanted to make is about our social equity program. Social equity is also a huge part of our core values at Ease and some of the most important work that we do. We know that we cannot be in this industry and ignore the people who came before us and those who lost everything because of the failed war on drugs. We have committed to giving back to impacted communities through our social equity work that is comprised generally of 3 pillars. So it's our Momentum program, our social equity menu, and preferred payment for social equity brands on our menu. Our Momentum program is a business accelerator that is focused on supporting underrepresented founders in the cannabis space. So that's Black and Brown folks, the LGBTQ community, women, veterans, anyone who has been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs. The Momentum program provides grants of $50,000, 12 weeks of mentorship from industry leaders, and investment opportunities that include a virtual pitch day to deep-pocketed investors for all of the underrepresented founders in our program. And this year, we actually have a New Yorker from Syracuse a part of the program, so we're really excited about that. We also have a social equity menu on our platform that gives preferred treatment to social equity brands on our menu, and something we promote regularly to our customers. And to date, Ease customers have purchased $4 million in products made by such social equity partners. And that actually makes Ease the largest seller of social equity products in the world, as California is the largest market in the world. And finally, we give social equity brands on our platform preferred treatment by selling their products at a slightly lower rate than other more well-known non-social equity brands on our platform. So that's a brief overview of who we are and what we are doing in the social equity space in California. We hope to bring some version of these programs to New York if and when a legalization bill is passed, hopefully this year. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have for me and my colleague Rashad, who is also on the line.
Okay, was there a second person that wanted to speak for, or were you?
I think we can just both answer any questions.
Okay, all right. And I did forget, one of my colleagues reminded me there is a 3-minute time rule technically. But yeah, Councilmember Wyatt, if you could, you had a question, I believe.
Yeah, I didn't know if this was allowed for us to hear this because I know we haven't been legalized yet, but I guess we're getting ready. And I know the chairwoman, the assembly member, Crystal Peoples-Stokes, has been very adamant to ensure that we are able to, communities of color are able to benefit because we have been affected tremendously by it. So I appreciate the presentation. I know it's coming. I know that there are some people who are not ready for it. But I think as long as it's done legally, we hope that the impact will be one of a positive impact. So thank you for the presentation. in hopes that I hope that we will have some folks who will be able to benefit and take on that entrepreneurship role to, be able to make money and be able to provide for their families. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, is there anybody else that had any questions, comments? I don't see anyone else. We could table this item, I believe, so that it would stay in front of us. And as more information comes out, you could continue to update us. If that's, you're shaking your head, okay, that looks good. So why don't, Mr. Wyatt?
Mr. Chair, can I just ask, and I don't know if Ms. Tuttle is aware of where we are as far as the legislation. I know we've heard little pieces, but are you more informed of where we are right now, Jennifer?
Yeah, so Sydney, feel free to jump in, but it is moving. Delivery is included in both the MRTA, which is the majority leader's bill, and also in the governor's budget language. So we do anticipate that things will move forward, and as of now, delivery is an important component of the legislation.
That's right, Jennifer. And I think that the only update I would have is that three-way negotiations are happening right now between the Assembly, the Senate, and the governor's office. And so far, delivery is still something that they feel like is important because everyone can have access to cannabis through delivery for those who don't always able to go into a dispensary or have transportation options. Cannabis delivery is a great option.
So do you have a location in Buffalo, or are you still in, because I know you say California, you're just communicating from out there to us?
Well, I'm actually based on the East Coast, but no, we have not. We don't have an office yet in New York. We're just really exploring the options, but we are very interested to see what the opportunities might be in the state.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, motion will remain that we table this item.
Motion to table.
Seconded by Mr. Wyatt. And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you all.
Item number 4, letter to Director of Strategic Planning regarding Compass House.
Items open.
This item is open. Mr. Wyatt, did you wish to speak on this?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm going to try to be calm about this because last night I had a meeting with the residents of Highgate where Compass House is proposing a homeless shelter for youth. And this project has been planned for several months. And I found out last night and hearing from the residents, and we had over 30 residents on a Zoom call, that many of the residents, even the residents who are right next door to the proposed site at 308 Highgate, none of them were talked to. No one knocked on their door. No one left them a flyer. No one said a word to them. And these residents were very, very upset. And I tried to restrain myself, but I couldn't believe that in this day and time in our community, especially on the east side where people feel as though people just do whatever they want to do, that these folks didn't have the decency to meet with the residents. And they had all these apologies about everything, that I'm sorry we didn't come meet with you. I'm sorry I didn't knock on your door. But that was too late. You're talking about bringing a population into this community that's already strained with various issues, and you didn't have the common decency to say hello. There was a situation where the CEO was speaking, and I said to everyone, we're going to be respectful. We're not going to be disrespectful to anyone. One of the residents was just waving as she's speaking because he was not approving of what she was saying. She said to him, please don't be disrespectful to me because I wasn't disrespectful to you. I scratched my head and said, are you serious? You are putting a homeless shelter in their neighborhood. They knew nothing about it. The council member knew nothing about it. So I sent this letter to Mr. Mahaffey because I was told that there was some conversation with strategic planning on this project. And I am hopeful that when the dust settles, that strategic planning didn't give these people an approval to come into their neighborhood without anyone speaking to the residents. That's insulting and disrespectful. And to hear that anybody would think that you can come and just set up in the neighborhood, and we had 4 or 5 people from this organization that none of them collectively could have a clue that we should talk to the residents and see what their feelings are before we started setting up shop. And you have a 3-year lease and you think that the residents should be okay. And at the end of the conversation, you want to say, I hope that you allow us to work with you. Well, this council member represents these people who you just basically disrespected. And guess what? We will not be working with you. So I'm going to be doing my due diligence. My staff is already writing up the paperwork. Our corporation counsel may need to be involved because they just brought their counsel on unbeknownst to us, and then the council wanted to speak. They don't know the process. And that's the thing that our folks in our neighborhoods are very upset about, is that people feel as though you can come in our neighborhood and you can shut up shop without any respect for them. So I thank the residents for them standing together, for them communicating with us, because again, my office knew nothing. And so I hope that strategic planning didn't give people an approval about a project in their neighborhood and didn't give them people the clue to say, go talk to the council member, go talk to the people, because that didn't happen. So again, Compass House, you maybe need to look for something else, because these residents, especially the people right next door adjacent to the project, you didn't think to go to them and say, hi, how you doing? Nothing. So this project won't be moving forward, and I will be filing paperwork to the Office of Child and Family Services with the state. I'll be filing something with Senator Kennedy, and I thank his office for being on the call and hearing the disrespect for the public from a state agency. And you know what? I'm not going to say it that way because I don't know if they knew, but I just think in the past, state agencies have asked, have you talked to the council member? Have you talked to the community? Have you got their buy-in? And so I just can't believe that the state would have allowed something like this to take place and have no public input. And I think inspections and permits who were on the call, who corrected some things as the leadership from Compass House have said, all our paperwork is in. Well, they said all the paperwork it wasn't in, and they asked for a cease and desist because everything wasn't in order. So again, our system did work for a small measure. And again, thank you to the community for standing up and speaking up. And I am your representative, not Compass House. And so when things aren't going right, it's my job to put things in order. And we're going to continue to work with the community and make sure that we get the respect that we deserve. Thank you, Mr. Chair. You can table this item.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to table?
Motion to table, seconded by Mr. Wyatt.
Take from the table items 5 and 7.
Motion is to take from the table items 5 and 7, seconded by Mr. Farrelletto.
Item number 5, report of sale 89 Doris.
Motion to approve.
Motion is to approve, seconded by Mr. Wyatt.
Item number 7, information on COVID.
This item's open.
Okay, this item is open. Did we have anyone that wanted to speak on this?
Mr. I don't know if Brian Bowman had his hands up.
Oh, Mr. Bowman, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just, I had meetings with representatives from our New York State Department of Health regarding the, regarding COVID and things that they're doing. So we had filed this item, and we have Madeline Thompson here, a representative who has some words to share with us. Madeline?
Okay, thank you. If you could just state your name for the record, please.
Hi, yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Madeline Thompson. And also presenting with me is my colleague, Skylar Banks. We are both outreach coordinators for the New York State Department of Health Contact Tracing Initiative. And just a little background, as outreach coordinators, our main goal is really to reduce the rates of COVID-19 cases within Western New York. And in doing so, we want to engage with communities all around Erie County to collaborate with local health departments, elected officials, community-based organizations, and more to assist in the development and implementation of outreach and engagement. So today I really want to share with you just a general overview of COVID-19 and contact tracing. I do have a presentation, PowerPoint, if I'm able to share it. I'm not sure if I have to be a host in order to actually share it, but I will try. Okay, I don't. So if there's any way I could be made a co-host to share the presentation.
Hey, Council, also, how much time do we have, Council?
Technically, it's 3 minutes apiece. I mean, I would let it go a little bit longer, obviously, because I think it's important information that you're sharing with us.
We'll make it go quick then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me see. Oh, that's not it. Okay, I think, can everyone see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So yeah, we'll just start and we'll blow through this really quickly then. I first wanted to go through what COVID-19 is. For those who don't know, the medical term is just SARS-CoV-2. Mostly want to draw attention to this just because we already know that there are types of coronaviruses out there that exist, such as SARS-CoV, and most of them cause respiratory diseases in humans. We like to start with what the source of COVID actually is. Scientists are still working on this question, but we identified that with COVID-19, they are a large family of viruses causing illnesses such as we've seen Middle East syndrome, such as MERS, and such as SARS, severe acute syndrome. But we know now that most coronaviruses are known to infect animals such as camels, cats, and bats. And early on, we discovered that COVID-19 has been linked to a large seafood animal market in Wuhan, China, suggesting that that's where the virus actually came from. If you want to know any more detail on this, we do have a tab on the CDC called COVID-19 transmission, and we do have links at the end of our slide for you guys to share and look at if you'd like. Going on to how COVID-19 spreads, the Health World Organization actually declared COVID-19 a pandemic back in March 11th, 2020. But we know now that it was first animal to person, but now it is person to person spread. And we believe this is from respiratory droplets that are produced when a person who's infected with the virus coughs or sneezes, the same way that the flu and other respiratory illnesses actually spread. This is why we say the importance of wearing a mask and wash your hands and social distancing, as well as to clean your surfaces and widely touched objects. Some symptoms that we wanted to go over to look out for can range from being mild to very severe. So mild symptoms that don't really need any much concern include cough, fever, difficulty breathing, decrease in appetite. But there are other severe symptoms such as hemoptysis, vomiting, diarrhea, confusion, headaches, but those are in less than 10% of cases. We do recommend that if you do feel more severe symptoms such as this, to obviously call your doctor or go to the emergency room if these symptoms worsen. We also ask people if they do feel these symptoms to monitor them between 2 and 14 days. And this is why we ask people to quarantine on the contact tracing team, to quarantine for about 10 to 14 days, just to be able to make sure that they will not be spreading the virus anymore to any people. So the COVID-19 has a range of symptoms from a common cold, like I said before, to hospitalization. This is important because we like to draw that the case fatality rate of COVID-19 is between 2 and 5% in the United States. And that might seem like a small number, but that's about almost 500,000 people have died of coronavirus in the United States just in the last now going on the second year. And there are over 28.2 million people that have COVID-19 that are reported to have COVID-19 in the United States. And to break that down even further, just in Erie County, that's over 63,000, and that's nearly 2,000 deaths. So it's still important why we stress, before everyone has access to the vaccine, to social distance, to wear their masks, to wash their hands, and such like that. I will probably just skip over this one. I just wanted to point out that people who are not showing symptoms can still be just as infectious as someone who is, has a cough or loss of appetite. And actually they account for about 25% of our cases that we see. So we always try to stress to people that even if you not feel any symptoms, that it's important to quarantine and to advise the people that you live in your house to quarantine with you. And that, as well as symptoms, you can spread the virus up to 2 days before you even develop any symptoms as well. So it's always very important to, once again, be wearing your mask and such. We say people who are at higher risk that, and this is according to limited research that we have, mostly older adults and people with chronic medical conditions and high blood pressure and such like that. And we also wanted to point out that there are racial and ethnic disparities that we've seen in our studies. This is why we try to focus high in those zip codes with higher case fatalities, as well as in our minority and low socioeconomic income neighborhoods that we want to focus on in our outreach as well. So can it be prevented? Well, currently there are, now 3 vaccines. We're focused right now on the Pfizer and Moderna that we have, but we try to stress within the community that we go into and we teach to that since not everyone has access to the vaccine right now, just to always be washing your hands, avoid touching your mouth, covering your sneeze and cough, which is very, they're very, self-explanatory ones, but you have to remind people. I could just skip over this one since community mitigation is just about, how to social distance. And basically this was kind of a teaching to do before getting the vaccines, which people didn't have access to just yet, how to, just social distance before having like some type of treatment option to prevent against COVID-19. I'll just say, should you wear a face mask to prevent COVID-19? I'll say yes, and I'll skip over that one. I wanted to go through some travel recommendations for people since people seem to be, traveling, weather's getting warmer, we want to get outside. We have 2 links that we just ask people to look at before they go to travel, let them know which are the high risk states. We break them down in levels. Level 3 risk is very high cases in that state. Obviously, if you leave the state, we also recommend that you quarantine when you come back for 10 days. And we ask that people fill out a Department of Health travel health form. You're going to be required to fill one out if you're in one of those restricted states at an airport, but we ask people who are driving into our state to fill us out on their own honor code. And then, and just if someone's recently traveled outside of a country or in the United States or a state, excuse me, we ask that you take the first steps, such as calling your local health department to get a test, as well as calling your doctor if you feel any symptoms, to not have any contact with people if you feel symptoms, or to call 911 if you have any worsening symptoms. And then just with COVID-19 testing, I wanted to go over some criteria on how to, we have criteria for people who should get a test that include people who are feel like they have any COVID-19 symptoms, people who need to test to travel, people who need a test to return to work, who need to go to a physician before surgery, or anyone in like a high risk area of exposure. We just say this as really a recommendation. Obviously, you can get tested if you want to feel safe. We just say this to not overwhelm our testing sites. And next, I'm going to pass it off to Skylar Banks.
Hey, Council, I'm going to be really quick because I think we're over our 3 minutes. I'm going to talk about contact tracing really, really, really quick. Our contact tracing program is to slow the spread of COVID-19. I'm going real high level because we are actually, once we're done here, we're going over onto the west side to the Port Sports event and hand out literature and talk more about what we do to the community. We talk about what the health department's responsibility is. Next slide, Maddie. What the health department's responsibility is, how we share the information with the community. We talk about exposures, what happens if you get exposed. Next slide, what you should do. We are working with the community and government officials to do this. We talk about what isolation is compared to quarantine. And we can put these presentations on for you guys at any meetings that you may have. We talk about the health issues that come with or can come with COVID-19 and what you should do if certain health conditions arise. Me having COVID-19 myself back at the beginning of the year, it affects everybody differently. And then finally, we have some 800 numbers and websites that you guys and ladies can go to for more information. If you want us to come to any community meeting or anything, that's what our jobs is, to go out into the community and share information. We pick up our PPE tomorrow. We will have hand sanitizers and masks to pass out in the community. Today, we'll just have literature. I hope that was quick enough.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Off to the west side.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Bowman?
Yes, thank you. I know that was kind of a recap of information that was kind of just had these last few months drilled into our brains, but I thought it was important for my colleagues to have these contacts in the state health department. Mr. Banks is right from the Fruit Belt. He's a member of our community. So these are contacts, and I felt a lot better after talking to them with just a brief conversation about even the vaccine. And I think every council member here is trying to, get a location in their district, or they want it to be accessible for their residents. So we talked about accessibility. We talked about the issues with not everyone having access to the internet and being able to, keep clicking refresh to get their vaccine appointment. Or even I'm thinking about some of my senior homes where, we're thinking about mobile drive-up units or different ways to get to residents who don't have anybody or don't have the accessibility. So I thought those conversations were great. And we have representatives here that want to get out into our block clubs, into our communities, whether it be virtual or however they have to do it, and get information out to our residents. So I thought it would be helpful just to make that connection. So thank you all for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. If
Thank
you
you
need
so much for
anything,
having us.
please reach out to us if you need anything.
Okay, we'll do Councilmember Wyatt.
Yeah, I just have two quick questions. One, if you have had COVID, do you still recommend people get tested at some point? And number two, if you've had COVID, can you get the vaccine?
They tell us that we should not be tested until 90 days after your COVID, because it may be still in your system. So I'm waiting 90 days to get retested. It hasn't been 90 days. And then, yes, I can get the vaccine. I talked to some nurses and they said that I'm able to get the vaccine. I should not get the vaccine if I tested positive last week.
Okay.
Give it some time, a month or two, and
Okay.
then you can get the vaccine.
And you can also get tested if you did test positive and you have to quarantine, but you're not sure if you actually tested positive. You just had contact with someone who was positive. You can leave your house to get tested. You can call your local health department or New York State hotline to get a scheduled test.
Okay.
But not for a vaccine. You cannot leave your home to get a vaccine.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Bowman, for bringing them on, and thank you for the information. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, is there anybody else that wanted to speak? Councilmember Bowman, would you like to table this, or what would you like?
We could receive and file it, and then we'll just pass their contact information along to everybody.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rivera motions to receive and file, seconded by Mr. Bowman. I believe that was the last item.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, seconded by Councilmember Pridgen.